What is going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel, Panthers Advice. We've got a lot to talk about today. We've missed the last few days, but we're back. We got to talk about an injury with one of the quarterbacks and not Bryce Young, and then signing another quarterback, even though you got another practice squad quarterback who I thought Dave liked because he talks about him all the time. Chuba, is he going to get traded? The trade deadline, injuries, rookies who have been performing, the identity of the team. I mean, there's a lot to get into. So let's get into this thing. First up is this right here. Panthers add quarterback. But before we can really dive into the quarterback thing, we have to talk about this right here. Because if you read the other one first, then this one doesn't make as much sense. But if you read this one first, then the other one makes more sense. So let's jump into this right here. All right, Andy Dalton's injury makes Dave Canales' decision-making look bad. I mean, some people aren't happy with the Chuba and Rico thing, but let's take a look right here what this is. So, for whatever reason, Dave Canales really wanted Andy Dalton to play that game last Sunday. To me, probably because he likes Andy Dalton, but we'll keep reading. Hendon Hooker couldn't have been much worse, and even if he was, it's not like the game was remotely ever close. All right, that's fair. I'm not going to lie. As I was watching that game, and this is what I was talking about before, where they sent another quarterback, even though you had somebody on the practice squad that Dave already liked. Dave has been talking about Hooker, since they signed him. I don't know for sure, so don't quote me on this, but the last few weeks, maybe longer. You know, Hooker, I looked at him when he came into the draft or whatever. Good guy, good arm, so on and so forth, right? So I'm like, okay, Dave has been talking about this dude for at least the last few weeks. The Bills just had Andy Dalton's number. Maybe Andy Dalton was just having an off day. Maybe he had a bad Saturday night. I don't know what was going on with him. I thought for sure at some point we were going to see Hooker. He was going to throw a couple down the field. I'm going to call him Double H, all right? I thought at some point we would see Double H. Never did. We never saw Double H. We just saw Andy Dalton completely getting obliterated out there. Now, it gets worse right here for those who don't know. According to Mike K, OCBI, all right, acknowledged Dalton's thumb injury, saying that the medical staff cleared him and they usually do a good job of communicating everything with the coaches on the sideline. That said, Brad revealed that it was ultimately Canales' decision to play Dalton the entire game, even though he was hurt. Okay. This is where I'm a little bit confused with Dave. Sometimes he makes calls, and I scratch my head a little bit, but this one was a huge head scratcher. Why you didn't play Hendon Hooker at all, Double H, Mr. Hooker himself, is beyond me. Dave Canales, when it comes to the quarterback play, all right, before we jump into the new QBs they signed, to me, he's got too much on his plate, if I'm being honest with you, because he's trying to figure out the personnel. He's trying to figure out the play call. You know, he's got to watch the flow of the game to figure out, you know, what play should I call next. He's trying to watch the personnel on the defense too, you know. Are we getting rookies out there? It seems like we're taking care of that issue for now, right? But to me, he's got too much on his plate, and then at the most random times, it looks like he has an ego, right? We all have an ego. But at the most random times, it feels like he has an ego that kind of overtakes everything. And I guess this is just part of being a new head coach, right? Is knowing when to call it, right? I don't know why you leave Andy Dalton in there. Maybe if I'm spitballing, one of two reasons. All right. One, you didn't want to put Hooker out there, make him look bad. And then that's what everybody thinks about Hooker, right? So the guy you've been kind of hyping up, right? You're trying to hide him. You don't want to put him out there yet. You don't want to stunt his growth. The second reason is maybe he was trying for a comeback. Maybe, I don't know. But my gut, if I had to pick one, it's that he didn't want to put Hooker out there against the Bills because, well, I don't think he trusted the line, to be honest with you. So that leads us into our second article. And that's this right here. Carolina Panthers add quarterback to active roster with Bryce Young, Andy Dalton, and flex. Now, again, we had to go over Article 1, all right, because you might be like, why did they add another quarterback? Well, Bryce Young come back from an injury, Andy Dalton hurt. They signed Mike White, which still goes back to Hooker. What are they doing with him, right? So then goes back to what I just said. I mean, you can almost contradict that, right? Where Dave wanted to hide Hendon Hooker, it's now like, wait, you wanted to hide him, right? Give him a fresh chance. But then you signed Mike White to the active squad, even though the week before you just signed him to the practice squad. This, we're going to get into this in a little bit. This team has potential. I think the coach has potential. But I get confused here. I get injuries, right? So I get the 4 quarterbacks to a point. Here's my thing. You got the 4 quarterbacks. You had all the receivers, during training camp. Then you had all the running backs. I don't know that Dave has figured out his identity with anything. When it comes to the quarterbacks, I don't know that Bryce Young's this guy. I don't know that Andy Dalton, is the backup moving forward. I thought Hooker might compete next year for the starting job with Bryce Young, but then you just signed Mike White to the active squad, right? And then all the receivers we had were run first offense. I'm a little bit confused with Dave and some of the decision making, because it feels like we're going to do this, and then it's a 180, we're doing this. And then it's a 180 again, and we're doing this. I'm a little bit confused, right? This whole time he's been talking about Hooker, the pre-draft process. He liked him a lot. And then he signs veteran Mike White. All right, let's read a little bit about this real quick. The team announced Thursday that it had promoted Mike White to the active roster. White was signed to the Carolina practice squad last week. The move comes as the availabilities for both starting quarterbacks Bryce Young and Andy Dalton are up in the air. Young is still working back from the ankle injury, right? And then Andy Dalton, had his injury as well. Dave Canales confirmed Wednesday that Dalton suffered the injury early on in the team's 40-9 loss against the Bills. Not a good look. The fact he suffered it early and you still did not give Hooker a shot. But White's promotion gives the Panthers further insurance at the quarterback position should neither Young nor Dalton be ready to play this week against the Packers. Hendon Hooker, the signal caller the team brought in at the beginning of the year, who has served as QB3 up until now, remains on the practice squad. I was hoping to read that maybe Dave would activate Hooker, maybe, but it doesn't look like that's going to be the case, right? It looks like Andy Dalton's probably going to be out, and Mike White's going to back up Bryce Young. Again, when it comes to Dave Canales and the decision-making, this man confuses me, but let's keep it going. Next up is this right here. Rising Carolina Panthers star makes cut for NFL midseason all-rookie team. Let's take a look at this right here. Week 9 of the 2025 season begins tonight when the Baltimore Ravens visit the Dolphins. All right. So it's that time again. Josh Edwards of CBS Sports has released his 2025 NFL midseason all-rookie team. All right, let's see who makes the list. T-Mac right here. Goes on to say right here, he has proven capable of winning balls down the field for Bryce Young, but has the third most drops, 3, among all rookies. McMillan ranks number 11 in receiving yards. All right, he only has 3 drops? Something tells me I thought he had more, but let's put everything into perspective. McMillan has totaled 37 catches, 512 yards, and a pair of touchdowns, both of those coming against the Cowboys in Week 6. Let's talk about this real quick. All right, this goes back to Dave Canales and the decision-making. When they drafted T-Mac, Tedero McMillan, I thought for sure we were heading towards the pass-heavy, Bryce Young-led offense, kind of like Baker in Tampa Bay. I thought initially that's where we were going, and you saw signs of it, and then you didn't. And then you see signs, and then you don't, right? And this is where I get confused at with Dave Canales and his decisions, because if you watch closely, it feels like when I watch some of these games, when the Panthers are down, right, then they start to mount a comeback, Dave almost completely abandons the run sometimes. Not every time, all right? Not every time. But then he'll just go 5 wide, and he'll just be completely aggressive. I'm like, whoa, why are we being aggressive now? Right? We've got momentum, right? Let's slow everything down. You see what I'm saying? You've got momentum back on your side. You've mounted the comeback. But I'm telling you, if you watch, it's like whenever he gets 1 to 2 possessions, all right, when it's like 10 points, right? Not 14, but usually like 10 and under, he starts getting aggressive because he can almost taste the comeback. But I'm like, you've got momentum. Why are we rushing things? And all of a sudden we're going 5 wide doing X, Y, Z. And that's confusing to me. That's when he decides to do it. Not when you're down by 14, 17 points. No, when he starts to catch up, he's down by 3 to 10, is when he becomes aggressive, right? And the whole thing was when they drafted him, drafted Jimmy Horn, you had Adam Thielen, you had Leggett, you had Coker. goes back to what I just said. I thought it was going to be a pass-heavy team. Now it's run-heavy. I don't know with him. Is it going to be run-heavy moving forward? I'm not mad. You've got Rico. All right, he's doing amazing work. All right, Chuba's going to be behind him most likely. I'm okay with it, but I hope Dave sticks to it. I hope we don't get to a point where in the middle of the game, all of a sudden we're being aggressive and then we lose momentum. All right, let's keep this thing going, though. Kind of had to rant about that. Next up, all right, Panthers are going to play the Packers, and they're going to be wearing those throwback helmets. Gonna be an interesting look. All right, gonna be an interesting look right there. Forecast says it will be partly sunny with a 20% chance of rain during the day and a high of 51. And if you head to the game as of October 27th, all right, the marketplace was around 266. All right, so expect to spend about $200 if you're going to go to the game in Lambeau Stadium. Next up is Chuba Hubbard in the trade. All right, and everything else going on there. Trade deadline, if I'm not mistaken, it's November 4th or around there. Now, do I see the Panthers trading Chuba Hubbard? I don't, right? There's 3 reasons why. 1's the contract. 2, Dave likes Chuba Hubbard. And 3, I don't think he trusts Etienne enough yet, right? Etienne really just started to slowly get more reps. I don't think he trusts Etienne enough yet. And then the Panthers potentially are a playoff team, to be honest with you, right? We'll see how this week goes. See if they can kind of fix some things. I mean, you got injuries. But I don't see them trading Chuba just because of those 3 reasons. The backup behind Rico, Dave seems to like him, and you just gave him a contract. I like Chuba too, but Rico, he's doing his thing. You can't argue with it. Ride the momentum out, all right? But based on what I just said, I don't see him getting traded, all right? Unless they get something crazy. But again, I don't know what you could get, all right? You could have got a pass rusher maybe before, but now... Week 9? I don't know, man. Let's keep it going, though. Panthers did sign somebody. I meant to do a film study, but like I said, I've been gone for a few days. All right. 49ers lose key practice squad player to the Carolina Panthers. The Niners need all the help they can get. Yeah, Niners have a lot of injuries, if I'm not mistaken, either. All right. But sitting at 5-3 through the first 8 games of the season, the Niners are very much still alive in the playoff race and eager to improve off of their 6-11 season from 2024. So far, things are trending that way, but what is most impressive about the Niners? All right, can we get to this thing? As we get to it, on October 28th, the 49ers lost a very important player. Trevis Gibson, a practice squad linebacker edge rusher, was signed to the Panthers active roster. All right, this will be interesting, okay, because the Panthers got obliterated against Cook. Now, I'll have to look at the film and figure out, what the Bills were doing. The Bills aren't scrubs, all right? They got James Cook. They got that offensive line. They can ball out. Gibson will be interesting. I'm not sure how much he's going to impact right away, but it says right here, all right, 5th-round draft pick by the Bears in 2020, has been a journeyman. Again, I don't know what signing him is going to do for the team right away. I'll have to do some film study and get back to you guys on that. And our last article is going to be this right here. Carolina Panthers have 7 players set out first practice for week 9. Now, it's the first practice. I'm not too worried, but you got Taylor Moton, you got Cade Mays, Princely, Brady, Trevin, Andy, Nick Scott. Woo! Goes on to say the Panthers also have 5 other players on the injury report as full participants, including Bryce Young, Jimmy Horn, Derek Brown, and guards Damian Lewis and Chandler. Needless to say, the situation in the trenches could be really bad against Green Bay, which is far from ideal for Bryce Young coming off an ankle injury. All right, so as we wrap this thing up, final thoughts on this are, win or lose against the Packers, I just hope to see consistency stopping the run. Okay. Rico, all right, continue to use him. He's the hot hand right now. Chuba, find a place to use him. To me, use him out of the backfield. On the ground, he's not getting you anything. Is it the line? Is it the play calling? Is it his aggressiveness? I don't know. I don't really care, to be honest with you. Just use him as a receiving back. If it's a 3rd down back, 2nd down back, whatever it is, right? That's, to me, where he's most explosive at anyway, right? 1 reception last week had me confused. So with all that being said, that's what I hope to see. All right. Panthers advice is out. I'll catch you guys on the next one. Take it easy. Peace.